I frequently watch men and women, some of whom are on the very high perches of life, and I wonder, what sort of mothers did they have? Rarely, if ever, do I hear that question's corollary. What sort of father did they have? The fathers are likely to fall in behind the title of one of Germaine Greer's books, Daddy, We Hardly Knew You. The fathers are too often somewhat absent, or they claim a clumsy non-disclosure, entrusted with business secrets, keeping tight-lipped on professional confidences, of course, carrying memories that they refuse to mention and prefer not to remember, or keeping conflicts under wraps, unless, of course, you're an aggrieved politician. Today is the day of the mothers. So fathers must take a back seat or no seat at all. Mothers are the daughters of mothers, some of whom have had not one, two, even 3 or 4 husbands. And they themselves may follow their mothers, or they may resolve never to be like their mother, so that their children do not go through what they went through, only to find that the grandchildren start picking up the repetitive theme that happened to the grandmother. A cartoon picture in one of my professional journals has a husband and wife in later years, in dressing gowns, in their lounge room, and the wife says to her husband, well, the children are grown up, married, divorced, remarried. I guess our job is done. Well, today I chose passages from the scriptures that refer to mothers. The mother of Jacob and Esau, by a scurrilous act, drove a wedge between the 2 brothers. The mother of Solomon, by her action, provoked Solomon to kill his brother. And then the mother of Jesus, often venerated by the churches through the ages, and yet does not get high commendations in the scriptures. Indeed, Jesus brusquely says to her, Mother, I am not a party to your request, but then went on and fulfilled her request. So we hear the mother, the influence, the power of mothers. To our own knowledge, we know that some mothers are saints, but some stumble along, hoping to do the right thing, not really conscious of their influence, nor aware of how their children or their grandchildren will regard them in years to come, or how they will rate them as saints or stumblers, as mothers who opened the doors to life's enthusiasms, or were they mothers who relied on their intuition and trial and error, ultimately finding that the intuition was sadly unreliable and the trials were often too much noted for their errors. The other day, prior to the kindergarten field officers group, I made a list of the different mothers that have come to see me over not so many years, and what those mothers did for their children. So I, as a non-mother, hardly qualified, really, I'm going to talk for a little while about those different mothers. I made a list of some 40 of those who've come to see me. I'm not going to do that. I'll mention just a few of them. There was the moody mother, the unpredictable mother, the volatile mother, the unpleasable mother, the mother who could not forgive her mother, the mother who hated her children and hated being a mother, the mother who was over-dependent on her child and yet was often a child herself while her child became the mother, and so there was a blurring between who was the adult and who was the child. The mother who was too often depressed, too often angry, too often unpleasable. The mother who physically, emotionally, verbally abused her children. The chaotic, disorganized mother. The mother who succumbed to alcohol or cigarettes or drugs, other drugs. The mother who was confused in her own self and her self-worth. The mother who was chronically self-reproachful, feeling that she could never do a good job, she was never up to it, she was never good at this, never good at that, and so on. So the list goes on, my list goes on. But then there were the really good mothers. There were the resilient mothers. There were the good role models. There were the mothers, those mothers that the psychoanalyst D.W. Winnicott called the good enough mothers. I think that's a bit condescending, perhaps. We could do better, because some mothers were saints, really were saints, that against many odds, against huge difficulties, they were really great mothers. So would you nevertheless stop for a moment and consider, what effects do mothers have on their children? The good mothers, the bad mothers. The good enough mothers and the nearly bad mothers. If their children are damaged emotionally, psychologically, damaged, say, in their self-worth or in their self-enjoyment, what will happen to those kids as they become adolescents and adults? I'll tell you. Many of them will be fed into the consulting rooms of psychologists and pediatricians, describing again and again the hurt they have experienced from their mothers. The story of children. Did I say children? Do you know I see many adults well into their 60s and 70s and 80s who tell me things they've never told before. How they were damaged by their mothers. How their mothers failed them. How their mothers were so full of stupid ideas and prejudices, religious prejudices sometimes, and other prejudices, that these adult children, 70 and 80 years of age, are working at this stage to try and get rid of those memories and those pains of the past. So my Big Tent project is focused on kindergarten kids, 4 years of age, 4.5 years of age, who have been identified as troubled children or traumatized children. Not all of them are victims of bad mothers. Some of them are victims of violent, drunk, disturbed, mentally disturbed fathers. Domestic violence is at such a level in our society, in this country, in this so-called lucky country. Domestic violence is at such a level it surely would startle you, astound you, and shock you. 50 to 60,000 children every year suffer child abuse. They're the ones that are reported. If we follow an American model for detecting child abuse that includes unreported cases, the number then in our country goes up to 660,000 children abused in Australia every year, with the highest rates of child trauma in Australia occurring in children less than 4 years of age. Does that startle you? Does that astound you? Does that shock you? Alice Miller, in her book on the lingering effects of cruel parenting, wrote this: "Violence done to a child is stored in the body and later directed by the adult at other people or even whole nations. Alternatively, the abused child will turn that violence on itself, leading to depression, to drug addiction, to severe illnesses, to suicide and early death." Many kindergarten kids have chronic physical and mental health problems. Some are struggling to cope with troubled parents or struggling with environments that want to exclude them or hurt them because they are different, they look different, they dress different, or their parents dress differently, or they have no father, or one of their parents has a mental illness. I need to say this, alongside of that, that many kids who have been through utter hell in their family life, hugely ugly experiences in their school life, have become outstanding people. Those early experiences can experience the miracle of a new focus, of a new phase of their life. Bad experiences, bad mothers, need not be a life destiny. Even when all the energy has run out, like the wine at the marriage festival, new energy can flow into the system. In the Big Tent project that we're trying, there in that Big Tent project that we're now getting underway, we're trying to give little kids a chance to grow into good citizens in a more intelligently caring society. To say a child has a problem is one thing. To do something about that problem is a very different thing. We want to ease that problem. We want to provide empathic experiences in an enhancing environment. We want to change those environments. We aim to bring really good care right into the context of the child's kindergarten and family. And that's what the Big Tent is going to do. So what can we all do? What can we do? What are we trying to do? We can change a child's life. Any one of us. Any one of us can name events and experiences that were bad experiences for us. And we can hang on to them and make them the dominant theme of our life for 20, 30, 60 years hence. Or we can change, and we can help others to change. I'd like you to listen to some words that President Bill Clinton wrote in one of his books. He visited Andrew Agassi at one of Andrew Agassi's prep schools. And President Clinton said, when I asked him how creating this prep school compared with winning a tennis tournament, Agassi replied, tennis was a stepping stone for me. It gave me the chance to do this. Changing a child's life is what I always wanted to do. We can change a child's life. We can give a child a chance. Second thing we can do, we can help mothers in the vital work, the most vital task they will ever have. They might think that their work is so important, but their work with this child is the most vital task that any person can ever have. That, of course, goes not only for the mother, but also for the father, but this is Mother's Day. Mothers have a huge psychological influence on the character formation of their child. They have a huge influence in helping the child find a comfortable, enjoyable fit in this world. Mothers are a key influence in the future mental and emotional stability of their child. But the truth is that many mothers are widely ignorant about how to manage their own moods, ignorant about what child rearing will come to be. Should the child be normal? Should the child not be normal? Thus, we cannot realistically expect to be able to focus a child's mood management if the mother is not in charge of her moods and doesn't understand them. Mothers are often overstressed. We all know how frequent a phenomenon that is. But now our governments are about to reorganise the single mother's payments, causing an additional stress. And of course, what will that stress have, influence will that have on the child? And I might add that not too many mothers are taking up the cause in favour of those mothers that are going to be thus penalised. I even heard it said, well, it's their fault. They made their bed, they can lie. They don't deserve any more than they get. It is a little reminiscent of the recent situation in the United States of America when the president's push was on for universal health cover. And many people opposed it. They said, we're not going to pay for other people's health. We don't want to be any tax added to us to pay for anybody else. They can pay themselves. It was in America that I saw the extreme opposite of that narrow view. Many years ago, I was in New York, Fifth Avenue, and I was standing gazing into the window of Tiffany's. I could hardly go into the store. It happens to be the most expensive jewellery shop probably in the world, so I could only look into the window. And there in the window was the most beautiful symbolic arrangement of eggshells in the form of tiny dishes. 5 dishes, food in each one of them, and 5 little symbols of kittens standing at each one of them. But there was a 6th kitten. Well, the mother cat who was watching by had not forgotten the 6th kitten, so she'd laid a little extra food alongside of the 5th dish. And the caption underneath read, "Grace feeds her 5 kittens and 1 stray." Help mothers be better mothers. Help society become more aware of the needs of mothers, the support that mothers need. What can we do? Thirdly, the Big Tent project aims to bring about a change in social policy so that governments and community organisations will give higher priority, vital priority, to early childhood development, early childhood growth, early childhood education and nurture, and to informed parenting of that growth and enhancement. Because so often the parenting falls down because of a lack of awareness, lack of knowledge, lack of support. In the present climate, there is talk of reducing funding to TAFE colleges. There is also a plan to build more jails, bigger jails. Every parent, regardless of your political persuasion, should jump out of your armchairs and say, what is this? That we're withdrawing funds from education to build more jails? Is there a connection? Would it so happen that if we had better educational processes and programs, we would have less need for jails? Consider that as a possibility. Ask the question. Of course, some of you might say, look here, you have stepped out of your territory. We're here to talk about religion on Sunday morning. What has all this got to do with religion? What has it all got to do with Mother's Day? What has it all got to do with religion? Nothing at all. If you think religion is all Sunday gobbledygook, as it often is, with nothing to do with helping a child develop faith in himself or herself. It has nothing to do with religion if you don't think we should be helping a parent or a mother have faith in a better future. Help us all have faith in reawakening an informed human goodness in our society. Is that religion? I read in some places that I am being unnecessarily provocative and arrogant, asserting that we need a new faith. They say it's not new at all. Is that so? So we'll go on letting mothers and women be penalised, discriminated against, as the old faith has done through the ages, through the years. So we'll go on being discriminating against this group or that group because of their age, because of their sex, because of their sexual persuasion, because of their colour, because of their race. We've done that. We know that. There is something wrong with any expression of faith, any expression of religion that continues to ignore the disgraceful statistics of child abuse in this city. There's something wrong with a religion that chooses to ignore. That it's a happy thing to give flowers, white flowers on Mother's Day, and never take seriously the dire mothering situations that exist in our midst, that are part of our society every day. Is it too much provocation, too much arrogance to advocate the need for a new faith? A better human being and how to create that better human being? A better human society and how to create that? That's precisely what Jesus of Nazareth was pointing to. Is it too much to suggest that the old wine has run out? And although it may need something like a miracle to get us there, we certainly need a new faith, new wine to flow in. The miracle is in the new faith. That human goodness is what we believe in for ourselves. And that human goodness can then be carried like good wine, like a surge of energy, like an energy of faith, right out to others, so that we do our part to give a child a chance, so that we do our part to help mothers be better mothers, so that we do our part to change social policy, so that we do our part to be better human beings ourselves. Would you please stand? Would you pause for the blessing? May the God you see in all the colours of creation arouse in you a sense of awe and wonder. May the God who is a sacred presence be real to you. May the God who is a source of inspiration and courage keep calling you forward. May your God go with you and bless you today and always.